All right, ladies and gents, today we are going to be discussing Steve. Steve is a figment of your imagination. However, he represents the good guys, the quality men that don't get chose. Cause y'all know women be choosing. Sorry, Steve, but this is why nice guys still finish last. So I had a conversation with Alan. You may know his YouTube channel, We Need to Talk. Dope content, make sure you check him out. In this conversation, we were discussing the single woman, specifically the moderately attractive-ish single woman. His perspective was that all of these women have at least one man in their phone that they can call as a last resort if they truly wanted to be in a relationship, but they choose not to, aka the Steves. Why do nice guys finish last? We're gonna start with the superficial things and then we'll work our way into the deep stuff. I have talked about this on my channel before. Most of these good guys are, by most women's standards, not that attractive. Nice guys are likely nice because they're not aesthetically pleasing. You guys can argue me on this all you want, but in my experience, I do find this to be true. We live in a society where pretty privilege or attractive privilege is absolutely a thing. It's been scientifically proven. When we see an attractive person, we automatically attribute positive traits to them. We think that they're more confident. We think that they're a good person. Overall, we have more of a pleasant experience in that first point of contact. Men who are attractive typically don't have to try as hard to get women because their looks, their exterior is going to do a lot of the work for them. The guy who is more average, the Steves of the world, they have to do a little bit more work internally to make up for the fact that they are not aesthetically pleasing. This is why you'll often hear that women go for men who are not really attractive because they were charming. It was something about their personality that just hooked them in. This may sound horrible, but as a woman, I can tell you that a lot of women will adjust their standards when they're dating, be a little bit more flexible if the guy is attractive. For example, if a guy is a 10 on the attractiveness scale, but his communication isn't quite where she wants it to be, she's more prone to be patient with that guy than she would be if he were, say, a 5 or a 6. Kind of along those same lines, nice guys are probably going to be the men who don't have as much status or as many resources. Before y'all come for me, I am not saying that all nice guys are broke. The guy who is considered nice and needs to lead with that niceness probably isn't in the top 1% of men. I know that this probably makes women sound shallow, but it is what it is. This next one might sting a little bit. Nice guys are often seen as men who are lacking masculinity, while the men who are assholes or the hood dudes may be displaying traits that women consider masculine. When we think about the things that a woman considers masculine, some of the traits that come to mind are being a protector, being assertive, being confident, strong. Literally for each of those traits, I can give you an example from my personal experience or from my friends' experiences where men went wrong. One time I was out with a guy, we were walking and I tripped over something. When I tripped, I made a noise like, oh shoot, because I was about to fall. And instead of checking to see what was going on and if I was okay, he kind of froze and cowered over. In that moment, I became instantly turned off because it showed me that he can't be a protector. Example 2, being too accommodating or flexible. I know this one might be a little confusing because from a male perspective, you might think that being agreeable is something that women like, but that's often not the case. This example is so basic, so simple, but it gives you an idea of how women think. Your girl likes to eat all different types of food. Sushi, Indian, Thai, I would try anything at least one time. One time I recommended a place to a guy. I didn't know it at the time, but the food that I suggested, he knew that he didn't like. Okay, so it wasn't like he was trying something new with me. He did not like this style of food. So much so that when we got there, and ate the food, he got sick. And so when I was like, well, why did you agree to come here and eat this if you don't like it and it made you sick? He gave a response that he did it because it was what I liked. I want to be very, very clear about this. It's okay if you're trying something new with someone because you see that it's something that they're interested in. But in a situation like that, I would have preferred that he be a little bit more stern in saying what he likes and what he doesn't like, and then suggest something that we both would have been okay with. In his head, he was being nice and being accommodating. In my head, it showed that he doesn't know how to be assertive. These are examples of a man who might be nice in his eyes, but is lacking those masculine traits that women are looking for. And I think that we see this a lot when men do not have a strong male presence when they're growing up. And if they're in a household where they were raised by a woman, she will raise him to be a nice guy, right? So to have those softer skills in a sense, but in reality, she's raising him to be a little bit more on the feminine side. And so it's off-putting for women. And the last thing that I'll say about good guys and the lack of masculine traits is that being too nice, too accommodating to gain affection from women is seen as a sign of insecurity. In my experience, men tend to go overboard with being nice because they feel like the internal qualities, or maybe even the external qualities that we talked about before, they don't think that those qualities are sufficient to land a woman. Therefore, they have to go above and beyond and do all these other things to try to get her attention. It's this idea that if I'm not funny enough, or I'm not intelligent enough, and I don't have the material items that you're looking for. I might not be 6 feet tall, I might not have a foreign car, but I can step up my acts of service, putting the works on you to make up for those deficiencies. I think that women tend to do this with sex. The woman who feels like she's lacking qualities internally to land a man, she might be the one who leads with her sexuality and efforts to keep a man around. And men do this with material items or acts of service. Let's talk about the women. The women who are doing the choosing, but they're not choosing the Steves. There are a lot of instances where women don't choose good men because of an internal deficiency or inner conflict within herself. Abandonment issues. If a woman has abandonment issues, which are often linked to daddy issues, she will run from the men who have good qualities and subconsciously gravitate toward men who are emotionally unavailable. And if the woman is not confident within herself, she might be subconsciously intimidated by good men. A lot of women may not admit to this, but it is 100% a thing where a woman might be in a phase of her life where she realizes she has things to work on, and then she meets a guy who she deems a very, very high caliber man. She sees that he has amazing qualities, and she knows that she is not ready for him. Cognitive dissonance definitely occurs. In that moment, she can either be real with herself and admit, hey, maybe I'm not on this man's level. Or she can choose to protect her ego. And instead of saying, I'm not ready for him, she will say, the issue is him. And unfortunately, I think that most women are more prone to do the latter. So my advice to the men's out there, you might be wondering what you do once you have been friend zoned so that a woman becomes interested in you. I honestly might be the wrong person to ask, because for me, once you're friend zoned, that's it. There is no escaping it. If you've been friend zoned, you just need to fall back. Do not be persistent. You might see on movies that persistence wins the woman in the end. In real life, it often does not work like that. You will come across as annoying. You will come across as desperate. Level up. Focus on you. If you're gonna be friends with the woman, be genuine. Don't try to be her friend in hopes of making her fall in love with you, because women can often see through that. Women, we have a tendency to start paying attention to someone once we realize that their primary focus is no longer on us. And that's not to say play hard to get if she starts reciprocating, but just be chill, be easy. The best thing that you can do is avoid being placed into the friend zone at all. Appearance is a huge thing Women love men who know how to take care of themselves. One thing that I will say is in my last video, there were some men in the comments who were complaining about women not being attracted to them, but they would admittedly say that they were overweight. In situations like that, if you know that women aren't really attracted to you because of something that you can change with your physical appearance, why not change it? Keeping your nails trimmed, making sure your teeth are white, smelling good, dressing nice. These are all things that are within everybody's reach, even if you're not the most attractive person in the world, that will help boost your level of attractiveness. Confidence, 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 confidence. If you can't change your appearance, you need to make sure you're confident in other things within yourself so that you can lead with that. Find out what your strengths are. If you're a really funny person, lead with that. If you're a hard worker, career driven, and you have success in that aspect, lead with that. If you are an intellect and you can hold great conversation, definitely lead with that, because women love substance. If you can feed my mind, the way that you look externally doesn't matter as much, because that's going to make you way more attractive. And lastly, state your intention, but don't force it. Make it very clear to a woman that you're interested in her, and you will meet her halfway and do the work that it takes to get her, but also let her know that you bring value to the relationship too, and you are also the prize.